Hey everyone, welcome back. This is our training series to getting more money from the financial aid system to pay for college, and this is training number 2. In this video, I'm going to show you how to find colleges with good financial aid profiles before you send your kids to college. Now, this is a really crucial step that a lot of families miss because they don't even realize it's there until it's too late and their kids are already accepted to colleges. You see, most families don't find out what their actual out-of-pocket cost will be until after their kids are already accepted. Because along with acceptance letter, they will also receive financial aid award letters showing what financial aid they're being offered from each college and what their final out-of-pocket cost will end up being. And this is the first time families realize that colleges give out financial aid in very different ways. Now, I want to pause here for just a moment and ask you to think of a time when you got an unexpectedly large bill. It doesn't matter what it was for, as long as it was unexpected. Can you think of anything? Well, personally, I can think of a few times, virtually every time we took our kids to the emergency room or when I pick up my car from the mechanic, even surprise bills at restaurants. They're smaller, but the feeling is always the same. Well, that same thing happens in college, except that the bills are much, much bigger. Can you imagine the feeling of getting a bill that's, $10, $20, $30, or $40,000 more than what you were expecting? And having gotten hundreds of calls from parents in that exact situation, I can tell you that despite the initial sticker shock, most of them still feel locked in and committed to paying it because they did so much hard work to get their kids into college that seeing them get their acceptance, they're ready to do whatever it takes to just get their kids through college. And that's in addition to the fact that there's just not enough time for them to pick different colleges anyways, because by the time their kids are receiving their acceptance letters, it's usually March or April of their senior year, and seemingly every other kid around them is getting ready to send off their deposit checks by May 1st, which is the National College Decision Day. So the big unexpected bill plus no time to make changes leaves people feeling like their back is up against the wall. Naturally, they stress, they panic, but they eventually accept it as a fact, and then they scramble to find ways to pay for it. So some families might pull money from other places, like taking money out of their retirement accounts or out of their homes, both of which things, by the way, I never recommend families do. But most families are going to end up borrowing from the government or worse, from private lenders. And that's exactly why this step is so incredibly important, because if you can get debt-free money from colleges that you never have to pay back, then why borrow? And that's why this step is so incredibly important, so that you can pick colleges that will actually give you all of the debt-free money that you need. And so when it comes to finding colleges with the best financial aid policies, you need to know is that we have 2 financial aid systems in this country. The first one is called need-based financial aid, and the second is called merit-based financial aid. Now, the need-based financial aid gives money based on your financial need. It's based entirely on the financial situation that your family has, while merit aid is given based on your extracurricular accomplishments. But sometimes it's given out based on where they live, their gender, their race. There are a lot of other factors because colleges want a diverse and well-balanced freshman class, and they can use money to attract kids that they really want. Let's focus on our need-based financial aid first, because this type of aid is determined by the formula I shared with you in the last video. Here it is again. Cost of attendance minus your expected family contribution equals need. The need is effectively how much money you qualify for and expect from colleges. But you see, all colleges have their own financial aid policies, which means that some colleges will give you 100% of the money that you qualify for based on need, and others won't. Obviously, in this case, more is better. And in a perfect world, things would be simple, and all colleges would give you 100% of the money that you need. But there's nothing perfect or simple about our financial aid system, so you'll have to do some mental gymnastics here. All right, so let's look at our financial aid formula again. You want to get 100% of the need that you have, meaning you want all that money to come from colleges because you don't want to lose out on the financial aid that you actually qualified for. And this is where picking colleges is so important. So, are you ready to find colleges with those best financial aid policies? Because that's what I'm going to share with you next. Now let's use this website that I like, collegedata.com. It's free, it's easy to use, and it's really informative. And I'm going to show you how to use it to find colleges with best financial aid formula. All right, everybody, here we go. We're just going to go to collegedata.com. And right here, you can enter the college name that you're looking at. And I will use the college that I went to just as an example. So here's University of San Francisco. So once you type in the name of the college that you want to look at, you'll see these tabs across the top. And what I recommend you do is you go to the third tab called Financials. Now at the very top, you're going to see the cost of attendance. This is the total cost for attending 1 year worth of that school, and you'll see the breakdown below. Now remember, cost of attendance is exactly what you saw in our financial aid formula. It's that first number, and it's very, very important, and this is where you'd get it. Now if you scroll down, what you're going to see here is the profile of the financial aid. And this looks back to the prior year, and you're going to see that University of San Francisco provides 68% of the need. And I just want to point this out because I didn't know this when I was applying to USF well over 20 years ago. I had no idea, like so many families still don't. And this just goes to show you that our financial aid overall system hasn't really improved, hasn't gotten easier in the last 24 years that I've been out of college. It's just kind of crazy. And I've made every single mistake in the book. In fact, the reason I'm sharing all of this with you and the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I ended up graduating with a lot of debt. And again, looking back, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have had I only followed my own advice that I'm giving to you now of the 3 areas where you'll find money. Because had I known this then, I probably would have picked a different college where I would have gotten an equally great education, but a college that would have given me 100% of the money that I qualified for. All right, well, I can't change the past, but we can still change the future for you folks. And so what I'm going to do now is share with you 4 colleges, 4 very different financial aid profile schools, so that I can show you the impact of finding colleges with the best financial aid profiles. Okay, so the first college we're going to look at is Columbia University School of General Studies. You can see at the top, cost of attendance is $75,609. And as you scroll down, you'll see that this college will meet 32% of the demonstrated need. The next college we're going to look at is Emerson College. Also, an expensive private school with a sticker price of $67,000. And if we scroll down, you will see that Emerson meets 55% of the average demonstrated need. The third is a local university in California, University of California, Los Angeles. Much less expensive school, $32,000. And if we scroll down, you'll see that this college meets 82% of the need. And now, last but not least, we have Amherst College. Also, very expensive private school, pushing $80,000 a year in total cost of attendance. And as we scroll down, you're going to see that Amherst awards 100% of the demonstrated need. Now, if I was to ask you, which of these schools would you rather pick? It would stand to reason if you were listening and paying attention, you would say, well, Amherst, right? Because Amherst gives you 100%. The other schools don't. So I've gone ahead and simplified everything by putting these 4 colleges onto a spreadsheet so we can compare them very, very simply side by side. So let's take a look at that. So in order of appearance, here's Columbia, here's Emerson, here's UCLA, and then finally here's Amherst. At the very top, you'll see this is the total cost of attendance. I just took these numbers right from the website that we just looked at on collegedata.com. Columbia $75,600, $67,000 for Emerson, so forth and so on. The next thing is the expected family contribution, and just for the example's sake, I left it all exactly the same, assuming that this family would have to pay $15,000 out of their pocket no matter where they went. That's their expected contribution based upon their financial situation. Now, if you subtract the expected family contribution from the cost of attendance, you get the need. Now, you should remember at this point, here's our formula. COA minus EFC equals need. This is the financial aid formula that I shared with you in the prior videos. So cost of attendance minus expected family contribution, $60,000 is the need for Columbia that you would expect them to give you. However, from the college data website, you'll see that I copied the average percent of need that each of these individual colleges publish. So Columbia provides the least, only 32% of the need, all the way to Amherst that gives 100%. So what I've done here in this simple spreadsheet is I basically took 32% of the $60,609 and $19,400 is the expected financial aid from Columbia. I've done the same exact thing for Emerson, where they would expect to give you $28,000, which is 55% of the $52,000 that you're eligible for. UCLA would be expected to give this family $14,000, which is 82% of $17,000 need, and then Amherst would give you the full $64,000 or 100% of the need that this family would have. And so the last step of the process is just to subtract the amount that you're expecting to get from each one of these colleges from the total cost of attendance. So in this case, for Columbia, a family that only has a $15,000 expected contribution out of pocket would end up actually paying over $56,000. Why? Well, because the difference of the financial aid that Columbia is not giving them, the 68%, they're going to have to come out of pocket. The same thing you'll notice is true with Emerson and UCLA. This family would end up having to pay the $15,000 plus the difference. And so the only college on this list where the family's true out-of-pocket cost is going to be the same as the financial aid formula estimated is for Amherst, where their expected family contribution of $15,000 is actually going to be the same $15,000 that this family is going to have to pay out of pocket, because Amherst, in this case, is expecting to give them 100% of the money that they qualify for in financial aid. So, folks, this is a very, very typical example of what I see every single fall and winter, because families that have just been accepted to colleges come to us worrying and freaking out why they're not getting the money that they thought they were going to get. Because look, the expected family contribution is the same. It's just $15,000. And most families that have prepared, that's what they're counting on. So when their kids actually get into college and they get their acceptance letters and their financial aid award letters that break everything out, they see these giant bills that are far greater than what they had in mind. And so this is the reason why picking colleges with the best financial aid profiles before your kids get really attached to them and before you drive or fly all over the country visiting colleges whenever we're able to do that again, that's the reason why you want to come up with a list of colleges that are a great fit before spending all this time, effort, and money trying to look at colleges that ultimately will not be a good financial fit. Okay, and we're back. Well, now that you know about this wonderful research tool and you know how to use it, you can start making a list of best financial aid colleges, or you can look up colleges that your kids are already interested in to see if they'll be the right fit for you. But please do this before they apply so that this way you can prepare yourselves without being blindsided with a giant bill in the 11th hour when your back is up against the wall having to make a big financial commitment without enough time, like so many families do year after year. But fortunately, you now know one of the keys to selecting the right financial fit colleges before that happens. By the way, the same thing applies if you have older kids already in college, because more than a third of all college kids are going to transfer before graduating. So before they go from one school to another, you should do the same research to make sure that they don't transfer into a college with bad financial aid policies that can become a big money pit for you. All right. How are you feeling? Feeling good? Is this making sense? Well, I really, truly hope so, because picking the right colleges is one of the best ways to make college more affordable. I know it takes a bit of extra work, but you will be rewarded in the end, I promise you. Folks, I'm going to pause here to give you some time to do your own research before you get to the next video and we talk about financial aid forms. And before I close, if you want to continue learning about picking the right colleges and everything else that I've been teaching you up to this point to get more money to pay for college, check out one of my upcoming financial aid classes below. I teach these classes live on Zoom, and I personally guide families through every important step in the process. It's a very action-driven class that gets results, and more importantly, it gets you money in the fastest and easiest way possible. And for all of our masterclass attendees, I also host weekly live Q&A sessions to give our parent community a chance to ask personal questions, get personalized help, and learn from one another. Because if one person has a question, chances are, so does everybody else. So if you're interested, click the button below and see if the class is right for you. I'd love to see you in our class if it is. But either way, I'm going to see you in the training video tomorrow. Talk to you soon.